for example. Here, right here, this Bevelyn Betty. I'm going to give you a couple examples across the country. This Bevelyn Betty, you know? Yes. Yes. She is badass, okay? I got to spend a couple hours with her in the autonomous zone up in Seattle. That was fun. Anyways, this is her right here in front of Planned Parenthood in New York City.
All the way up. All the way up. Planned Parenthood wasn't ready for this. They're not ready for this. The kingdom of God is in them. Let it go. This is how you do this. You hit these clinics and you hit them with everything you got. You profess, you declare, you call out the name of Jesus. This is war. We are called to destroy the works of the enemy. And that's what we're doing right now.
30 minutes later, she's arrested for violating COVID restrictions. Okay? 30 minutes later. I wish that they got it on film, but they didn't. Okay? Now check this out. 2 days later, the exact same city, okay, by the exact same police, you got this going on right here. BLM. Police chief right there. Violating COVID restrictions, it looks like. Does that look like they're violating COVID restrictions to you? A little bit? 2 days later, ladies and gentlemen. He needs to put his mask on. All right, you know what this guy's doing? You know why he's stripping? Because in California, it was legal for strip clubs to be open, but churches had to be closed. So he did a strip club, he did a little stripping. It's funny because he made a mockery of Newsom, which was awesome. You know, to point out the hypocrisy. And it is funny. It is funny, but it's kind of disgusting too. It's so blatant. It's so obvious. The lockdowns were not about safety, okay? It was about targeting specific groups. This is in Moscow, Idaho. These people were arrested for worshiping, okay? A week earlier, they had a BLM march. They didn't do anything. You guys remember this? This is epic. With them singing in the background. The thing about that is they arrested them to try to put fear into those Christians, okay? And I saw that and I drove up there and I had an amazing experience. 2 days later, they went back out with like 2 times, 3 times more of the amount of people and they worshiped again and the police didn't even show up, okay? Yes, it was awesome. I do want to talk about something that happened to me that day. You know, I'm out there and I'm with all these people just worshiping, and there's all these people standing around us just spewing so much hatred towards us. And they're banging on drums, they're doing all this disrespectful stuff, and I realized they don't really care about COVID. That was their excuse, okay? If they really cared about COVID, they wouldn't be there. They just hated the fact that we were worshiping out in the open, and they now had an excuse to yell and scream at us, okay? And so that opened my eyes in terms of, it's not just what we're doing legally, but culturally in terms of being able to go after people who want to worship out in the open. So here in Vancouver, Washington, a lot of you guys probably don't know, and if you're not here from Vancouver, I want you to listen to this presentation and think about what you need to do when you go home, okay, in your own city. One of the things, you're never going to know how much they want to come after you until you challenge them, okay? And we challenged them as soon after the lockdown and this summer. We instantly became targets by Jonathan Young, the City Council, the Mayor, City of Vancouver, okay? Jonathan Young is basically what you would call the district attorney at a city level, who is hired by the City Council, okay? And so what we decided to do is just rally like crazy, go to these businesses that want to open up, and basically pray, worship, do speeches, you know, basically take the church out of the church and into the streets, okay? Activism with your faith instead of hiding in the church. And here's some of the things that we did. Come on. This is Kelly Carroll, okay, out front of Pet Biz.
Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not
Criminally investigated for that, okay? For that right there. For, she opened up and we had that rally out there, criminally investigated. This is at Hug 'em Up, a restaurant.
Jay's gonna be in this. You know you missed all the cool stuff, right? I know. Thanks for the reminder.
Believers gonna rise us up to be as courageous as your son. In the name of Jesus. Criminally investigated for that. Okay, this is the wrong picture. I made this mistake. This is supposed to be in front of Valkyrie Tattoo. But we did the same thing. Praying, worship out front of Valkyrie Tattoo. Criminally investigated. Okay? The owners and the people who attended at it. Okay? Criminally investigated. Here you have a picture of, right here, this is a picture of, look at these criminals. Okay? This is called Underground Church. This is something that Kelly Stewart with People Rights kind of started and with other groups and different pastors. And basically what they did is they decided when all the churches closed down, all of them, most of them because of money, okay, they decided that they want a place where people can worship and still come together and pray. And so they went to different spots, you know, depending on the week. It was an underground church, literally, okay? This is someone's front yard, it looks like. Here's a video of actually their first service right here.
That was in a garage.
That was in a garage. Yeah, it looks like you can see that.
Yeah.
This is Heidi St. John speaking at one of those services. She's also running. This is.
But we are here to say we are the children of God. We will not be silenced. We will not stay home when God sits together. We will not deny the name of Jesus Christ. We will never stop singing.
Amen. Criminally investigated. Okay? Criminally investigated. Now, I want you to think about that. So I just gave you 4 examples right there. Okay? 4 examples right there. That was all 4 criminal investigations in the city of Vancouver regarding COVID restrictions were those 4 examples I just gave you. How, right here, if you see right here, there's a court document from Angus Lee. There's over 15,000 COVID violations for businesses in the city of Vancouver. 15,000, and there were 4 criminal investigations, and you just saw which ones that they were, okay? And this is a court document that Angus Lee did because the first person they went after was Kelly Carroll, okay? She was the first one, but they underestimated us. Angus Lee believes they had intent to go after her, all those other criminal investigations, and just start going after people and picking them off because they thought that they can pick one person, just throw them in jail, and the rest of us would be afraid. Here's oh no. See, that's the boots on the ground.
This is Kelly Carroll with the Pet Biz. You can find me at thepetbiz.com. And I opened up my business. As an update, we had a wonderful rally. The community totally supported me. We had a couple hundred people show up, and within days of opening after the rally, the police showed up. And today I received a summons from the county courthouse accusing me of being open illegally, and I have a court date in July 16th. So as a business owner and a grandma and a mother, of course, I feel like this Clark County and all the other communities are attacking business owners that are not a threat. When we have riots happening all over the country and all over the state, we also are funneled into corporations with hundreds of people, but we can't deal with 6 people a day without being threatened to be arrested. As far as my business goes, I deal with 4 to 6 pets per day. When they walk in the door, I have an 8 foot by 8 foot barrier between the groom salon and where the customer walks in. We have no contact with the people. We open the gate and the animal comes through. And it's the same when they pick their pet up. They come in, they either pay with cash or with a square box that I don't touch the screen. They put their own card in and put their information in. As a business owner, they've come after me, possibly with criminal charges, and they're going to come after every other business. So I'm standing up. We're going to do a press conference in front of the Clark County Courthouse, and we're doing a call of action to have hundreds of people come and stand for us.
Okay, I'll tell you how we respond to that real quick, but I want to explain something to you real quick. Number one, she would only have one customer in her business at a time, okay? So if you think of the 15,000 COVID violations, that's just business violations in the city of Vancouver, you're talking about Fred Meyer's. We went through all the paperwork. Fred Meyer's, Old Spaghetti Factory, Safeway, even there's City of Vancouver was in violation, the Vancouver Police Department were in violation. There are all these things that you can prioritize if you really care about COVID, but to go after a grandma that has a small little building where only one customer comes in at a time, okay? They were specifically targeting her because of who she is and her speech and what she believed in. This is the biggest concern with the lockdowns is we've given them so much power to discriminate. I'm gonna give you a perfect example right here. Coincidentally, the same week that she got criminally charged, okay, BLM had a rally/march in the city of Vancouver. And not only they violated the exact same COVID restrictions, not only were they not investigated, they worked with the city of Vancouver. They helped them close down I-5, so they're able to march on I-5. They closed down the I-5 bridge during rush hour so they can take it over. The city worked with them that same week that they criminally charged a grandma for trying to run her business.
I thought it was the governor.
The governor worked with the city of Vancouver, yes. So this is BLM right here. See those two American flags right there? I wonder who that is. I think that's you. That's me and you, right, Troy? Those are the only two flags you'll find on there. But so yeah, they took over. Okay, they started the march from downtown Vancouver, and this is them right here. This is the court documents that Angus Lee put together, basically explaining that the city of Vancouver, they're discriminating. They're targeting people because they helped Black Lives Matter. If you look at all these people here, they're violating COVID restrictions. Okay, you look right here. This same day, this is in Esther Short Park, Vancouver Police Department, standing around BLM, masks off, which I don't care. They can do that all they want. Just don't come and arrest us for peacefully, expressing what we believe in. Okay? Let's be even. It's funny because when she was talking about how she's experienced a lot of racism or stuff, whatever, but it's never been harder than being a conservative here now in the United States of America. And it's very true. So, okay, so no fear. Basically, so they go after Kelly Carroll, and what it is they want to put fear in your guys' hearts, okay? It wasn't just to make Kelly afraid, it was to make all the business owners afraid, it was to make all of us afraid, who are rallying, who are doing worship services outside. That's what it is, okay? But they underestimated us. They thought that they can just go after this grandma and everything would be fine. But what we did is we doubled down, okay? And we responded like crazy. Doubled up our numbers and we just started hitting it. So many different events that we did. And this is why it's so important. It's boots on the ground, okay? It's way more important than emails. It's way more important than, doing your phone calls. This is us at the sheriff's department, basically going there, asking him to do his job to protect us from these unconstitutional mandates, from people who are trying to arrest us, okay? Because that is his job. This is us putting sticky notes on his door because he wouldn't come out and talk to us, so we just left our notes. This is us at, this is Kelly Stewart right there, People's Rights. This is us at the courthouse for a rally for Kelly Carroll. And we did the fundraising, we got her the money, we got her the lawyer. We're ready to go. We're ready to fight, like just in the courtroom and out on the streets, okay? We weren't gonna take no for an answer. This is us at City Hall, trying to get them to come outside. This is them yelling at City Hall. Tell them to come down, come out. Okay, so basically we went through the right routes. Okay, redress our grievances, going to the public buildings, okay, which you're supposed to do. But they're hiding. This is why they closed them down. Because they don't understand, like if City Hall was still open, we'd be in there with hundreds of people, right? To go approach these politicians. So all of them were working from their home. So that was their home office. So this is a suggestion that to give you guys is you got to go to their houses. Now, some people believe it's too aggressive. Now, it depends how you do it, okay? We're not like Antifa where we're, throwing stuff and cussing and breaking in their windows. But the thing is, it's not too aggressive because these guys literally want to take a grandma, rip her out of her home, and put her in jail. That's too aggressive, okay? So we need to go to these people's houses respectfully and have our voices heard.
Right.
But it's like a church when we do it.
That was a fun day.
He called you out here to the public to face your people. You represent right
You
here
can see
and
one of
right
my little
now.
ones in the corner.
Will you come out, Kevin, and face these people that want to speak to you? Come out, Kevin.
See Troy the baby.
Come out, Kevin. Come out, Kevin. We're right here waiting. We are the people. We're waiting. Come out and talk to us. Come out and explain to us why these charges have been dropped. We pay your salary. We pay this mortgage. We pay for your roses. We pay for your grass. Every bit of this is paid with tax dollars. And the taxpayers want to talk to you. Will you come out?
That's a cute little girl on
Will
there.
you let us redress our grievance with you? You prefer to do this in your office? We can head back to the city hall, but we were there last week and you weren't there. We heard you were working from home. So we're here at your office space to redress our grievance. The First Amendment protects that right in America. Will you come out, Kevin, and have a barbecue with us and let us know how quickly you're going to do the right thing and dismiss the charges? Come on! Come on! Come out! Come out!
So that's Kelly Stewart. She's actually facing criminal charges too, which we'll talk about here in a second. But okay, so basically, Angus Lee was destroying these guys in the courtroom. He's an amazing lawyer. He's someone that's been helping me. He's a mentor to me, a friend to me. He means a lot to me, and he's local here in the city of Vancouver. Combat veteran, really good guy. Anyways, so he was killing the courtroom. We were killing him out on the streets, bringing the media attention. The community was very angry that they were trying to arrest her. And so they ended up dropping the charges, okay? And this is one thing that Angus Lee said and that I thought was interesting. I want to read this. Is he said, this was a news article. He said, this is not a prosecution. It was a persecution that appears motivated by political and religious animus at the city attorney's office, Lee wrote. There was never any legitimate basis for the prosecution of Ms. Carroll, which is made clear by the city's last-minute admission that she was actually innocent. So they dropped those charges. Not only did they drop those charges, they closed all the other investigations, okay? And Angus Lee believes it was because they completely underestimated us and they were not ready, okay? They were not ready to go through that whole process. It doesn't mean that they're not going to do it again. It's just they moved too fast, okay? The community fought back too hard. And so that was a huge celebration for us. We're like running around partying like, yay, it's really cool. And so, and then all of a sudden we start to understand, that was Jonathan Young trying to throw all these people in jail. Then we realized, although he dropped those investigations, he did something new. He went through a new route. And basically what we realized is that he was trying to slap all of us with felony charges. Hold on. Okay? He tried to slap all of us with felony charges because he lied to the Vancouver Police Department and said that we were threatening him and that we were intimidating a public servant, which is a felony here in Washington State. And so he basically, we should have known because like I said, we would be outside praying and all of a sudden 5 cop cars would pull up to come and investigate us. And so he was pressuring the Vancouver Police Department into arresting us, specifically the leaders, for basically going out and worshiping, whether it be out front of someone's house or giving speeches, or even if it was just on a street because they would watch all our live videos, just waiting for me to say one wrong thing, as if I was intimidating him. And the Vancouver Police Department, Sergeant Pat Moore wasn't having it, okay? Because he went through all the live videos, he was at the events, and he said, Jonathan Young, they're within their rights, okay? And so Jonathan Young ended up opening up an investigation. So I want to show this video real here. This is one of the things that they want to arrest us for, right here.
Rob, you are pastor of the underground church. I can't believe we're calling it that. In America, what is the underground church?
The underground church, it started actually about 2 months ago, and it was in response to the lockdown, in which churches really voluntarily closed their doors, and people were found to have no place to corporate worship, to gather together. And so underground church started as a result of that, in which people could come together, worship freely, because to gather, to come together, that is an important part of worshiping God. It can't be just done online or, through some virtual experience, but God is in the midst when Christians come together, so that's why.
Okay, so we just went through, I think, the weirdest church service in my life. What's going on here? There's a house behind us. We got people that look like they're barbecuing. What's going on here?
So we're at the house of Kevin McClure.
Okay, I'm here with Joey Gibson. And Joey, what are we doing here?
We're out here celebrating freedom, standing up for Kelly Carroll, a grandma who's been criminally charged. This man right here, Kevin McClure, we're opening for business when we walk out.
Who is a pet business owner, groomer, and she needed to open up her business before what it was termed, appropriate with the governor, with his mandate. And so they came, they cited her, and now they're going forward with criminal charges. We're here because she's the first one in the state of Washington to be charged.
There's going to be many more after that, and we're expecting more lockdowns. And so this is nothing but a power grab, so we got to stand together as a community and support one another. So, in response, this is from the police report. This is something funny that the officer said. He said, during all the events organized, Kelly Stewart, Joey Gibson both reminded individuals attending to not commit any crimes, do not trespass, do not threaten or intimidate, do not violate the VMC noise ordinance, and make sure they clean up after themselves when they leave an area. Okay? So this really upset Jonathan Young, but I want you guys to really think about this, okay? This makes me emotional, makes me so angry, because I want to have a voice, okay? They're already ripping me off of everything, off of social media. Okay, the last thing that I have right now is actually in real life, boots on the ground. And they're trying to come after me and other people for that too. I want to be able to peacefully say my piece, right? Say what I believe in. I want to be able to worship and pray anywhere out here that I choose to without worrying about Jonathan Young or the city council trying to slap me and other people with felonies. Is that fair? I just have always just wanted to have a voice, okay? And these people are always trying to shut me up. Not because of who I am, but because of what I say and what I believe and what I preach. That's why they're trying to throw me in jail in Portland, okay? They allow Antifa to do whatever they want, burn down buildings, but I can't stand there and record them and without being slapped with a felony, okay? And so this is very important, guys. This is very important. The fact that they've taken us off of the internet, okay? And now they're just trying to find a reason to throw you in jail for peacefully voicing your opinion. It's crazy to me that this guy, Jonathan Young, wants to throw business owners in jail, and then people who oppose him, then he wants to throw them in jail too. And so thank God, Sergeant Pat Moore, thank God that he said the truth. Otherwise, I could possibly be in jail right now. And what happened though, is Jonathan Young got so angry that he actually opened an investigation into Sergeant Pat Moore because he refused to arrest us, okay? And so basically saying that he's sympathetic towards probably fascists or whatever he wants to call them. Because Jonathan Young is like a far left guy, okay? Again, hired by the city council. Now, in response, I want to read this letter that the sergeant filed an official complaint against Jonathan Young. Instead of bending a knee and running and hiding, okay, like a lot of people do, he opened an investigation into him. This one part from his letter, it says, it appears Mr. Young doesn't share the same views regarding my professional assessment and opinions. It's obvious he continues to harbor ill will towards me and with his communication with a member of City Hall, City Council, 2 months after I met with him at his residence. Now, after providing my assessment, professional opinions, and expertise within a defense interview, which I'm required to be truthful, Mr. Young has retaliated by filing a complaint against me with VPD. I believe this is an unwarranted attack on my credibility, and also believe Mr. Young attempted to use his position of authority and attempt to influence me to file criminal charges on event organizers in which he sees himself as a victim. I believe complaint such and such that Mr. Young filed was in retaliation for me not moving forward with charging protest groups without probable cause and for me disagreeing with his initial assessment regarding groups protesting at his residence. And so, so right now they're investigating him, but nothing's gonna happen of it. Okay. So after all that we went through, okay, and that's just what I showed you. Some of those events I showed you, that's just like 10% of all the events that we did. A lot of them were small, some of them were big, some of them were just showing up and bullhorning. Okay. And so we went through that whole process, and the reality is, if I and other people, there's people here that were out there, if we want to go out there and we want to fight against these lockdowns, okay, and we want to protect people in our own community, we're going to be targets. They're going to come after us legally and try to throw us in jail. And this is just the beginning, okay? They don't want to be too aggressive at first, right? They want to kind of warm up the people so we don't fight back too much. So now we come back to the lawsuit, okay? Now this is coming back down to this is the pure worship stuff right here. What we decided to do is in December, okay, Inslee had some of the most ridiculous restrictions on religious activity. One of the things is it was illegal to worship on public property, okay? When we went back into phase 1, this was in December, which was insane, absolutely insane. Public property, that's sidewalks, that's streets, that's parks, that's everything, okay? Unacceptable, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but, and you could not worship. You could not worship. Now, on private land, okay, outdoors, he would allow you to have 5 people to have a religious activity, but you cannot worship. Now, I'm going to explain something very simple to you, why this is very unconstitutional. It's very simple to understand, okay? Now, you can sing, right? That's okay, but you can't worship. Think about that. Think about how blatant that is, right? That's unconstitutional. So that's based off of your lyrics, right? COVID doesn't care what your lyrics is. This is what I'm saying. But you know what? Spiritually, they care what your lyrics are, right? They don't want you to be worshiping out in the open. Get this. You can have 5 people worshiping outdoors on your own private land. Inside, you can have 200. I don't know how that makes sense, right? Because they want you to stay in the church. They don't want you presenting outside, right? And so we saw this and we're like, this is so ridiculous. We're going to file a federal injunction against the city of Vancouver before we do a worship service. And Angus was like, we're going to put the mayor will say, yeah, you guys have a right to worship. Okay, go ahead, file the federal injunction, which basically means they can't arrest me. Okay, or the mayor and Jonathan Young can argue in court saying we do have a right to arrest you. Right? And we figured that we put them in such a bad position, they'd be like, yeah, just go do your thing. No, what they decided to do was fight it to reserve their right to arrest us for worshiping on public land, okay? And what had happened is when we first went there, the day before the worship service, Inslee had actually, in response, changed the mandate, where he said, okay, you can have religious activity on public land, you just can't worship. And because of that, the judge originally threw it out, which doesn't make sense because we're still going to worship. So anyways, Angus Lee decides to go back, ask him to reconsider it, and so he did. And so here we go, now in court, going back and forth for a right to worship out in the open, okay? I want you to think about this. This for one specific thing. We're fighting in court right now, going back and forth. You're talking about 10 lawyers on their part, okay? The City of Vancouver, Vancouver Police Department, the Mayor, City Council, Inslee is now in it, Attorney General Bob Ferguson is now in it. And what are we fighting about in court? What is this argument even about, okay? It's about this, what we did right here, this specific day right here, okay? It's not about future or past, it's about this day.
Was that Christmas Eve?
No, this is the big one.
The first one? Okay.
Now is the time to worship.
We need to utilize our faith in God to accomplish the hardest things that we have going forward in this country.
And they would hear the calling on their life, and they would start rising up to do the things they need to do. Lord, you call us to be in all aspects of our life. There's not one part of our life that cannot be encompassed with you, Father, in your presence. Lord God, I ask that you raise up leaders here today, that they would fight, and that they would find their places, and that they would ask you, Lord, what is my purpose, and they would seek it with all of their heart, all of their mind.
Fall on me. Everyone needs forgiveness, the kindness of a Savior, the hope of nations. Or a slave.
Yeah, it's so good.
He is awesome.
Freedom. Come on.
Oh.
Freedom is being able to worship without you telling me how I can worship, when I can worship, and where I can worship. Come on. Freedom is with my family and friends as I choose. Freedom is not having the government tell me that I cannot make a living or run my business. The way that we take you for taking all.
All right, so here we go. So the argument is over that day right there. So they have up to 2 years to arrest us, okay, from that day because we violated the mandate. Okay, and I want you to think about this. I know why Inslee is fighting it in court. I know why. Because if we win this federal injunction, okay, it can open up the floodgates across the entire state of Washington and kind of get in his way in terms of restricting churches. Okay, that's why he's fighting it. That's why he's fighting it. But the thing is, you got to ask yourself this question: why is the city of Vancouver fighting this lawsuit so much? Why are they spending so much money on it? Okay. There's 3 reasons why they would be fighting it. Because each person, even the mayor, because the mayor's in a lawsuit, the mayor could just can give her own response and say, I agree with the federal injunction, they should not be arrested. That's her constitutional right. She can say that, right? But instead, she's fighting it in court. And there's only 3 reasons. One reason, it could be because they want to arrest us for that day specifically, okay? They want to be able to arrest us for that day specifically. The second reason is because they want to be able to arrest people in the future for future events, right? Because they, like I said, they don't want to set precedents. Or the third reason is because they're being pressured, okay? They're being pressured by somebody, all right? I don't care which reason it is. I don't care which reason it is. Any of those reasons, they're not fit to lead this city, period, at all. They've been exposed. They've been exposed for who they are and what they intend to do. And I want to explain this to you. We're in this position, like we have to go through this stuff, okay, just to exercise my First Amendment right, whether it be free speech or to worship. We have to go through this because we've fallen asleep and we've allowed cowards and we've allowed bad people to take over our city councils. We've allowed them to take over. This issue that we're going through is only because of the city council. I want to explain. If we had real men and women, real patriots, people who were courageous in that city council, this would never be going on. We would not be targets. And I'll tell you what, they would be out there worshiping with us. That's what we need. See, Inslee doesn't want to enforce this stuff. He wants to wash his hands clean. In fact, he even said it in court when he was being sued on a different case in Washington. He said that you can't sue me because I'm not enforcing these mandates, right? So he wants to write the mandates and then he wants to just have the local police deal with it, the local city council. That's what he wants. This is why it's so important that we take back our city councils, guys. We take them back. Because if you own the city council, you have to understand we don't have a Jonathan Young running around trying to arrest people for worshiping. Do you understand that? Because you pick who the city attorney is. You're going to pick who the police chief is. We have to be able to build pockets of freedom locally so that we can turn around and look at Inslee and say, no, thank you. No, thank you to your mandates. Here in Vancouver, we believe in freedom. I don't care if you're Black Lives Matters. I don't care if you're a patriot. I don't care what you believe in. Everyone has a right to peacefully exercise the First Amendment. Is that right? This is the thing. This is what the plan is. This is what they want to do to you guys. Okay? And this is what happened in Canada. I'm going to show you a couple minutes of this. In Canada, they arrested James Coates. Okay? And you can't say, oh, that's Canada. Canada is just one step ahead of us, okay? And this COVID thing is worldwide. I've never seen such an amazing coordination, right, of everything that they're doing.
And then we opened again, and we opened in contempt of court, and we were convicted, and we're still awaiting our sentence. And there was a media storm. But that's yesterday's news. And it's escalated even more. Pastor James Coates is in jail for opening his church. And when a faithful pastor ends up behind bars, you know it's bad. It's a sign of trouble. And when churches and their pastors are silent, or when they cold-heartedly debate whether it's real persecution, and when they sanctimoniously condemn the man for violating tyrants, you know it's bad.
It's really nice to see a bunch of young people here. Why did you come?
To support Pastor Coates and the church. I want church for my family one day.
We believe in freedom and honoring God.
What is being done to our country right now is against our Constitution, and we must fight for Pastor James. He cannot be in jail.
What do you think about Pastor James being in solitary confinement right now?
It's wrong. It's tyranny. We're here to defy tyrants and obey God.
For the first time in my ministry, the government is reaching into the life of the church.
That's James Coates, the day before he's arrested.
That's the domain of the elders here at Grace Life Church. That's the Lord Jesus Christ's domain. Attempting to dictate to us the terms of worship is not the government's jurisdiction, and I refuse to give the government what isn't theirs. Caesar has no jurisdiction here. You know, one of the challenges here is many of our neighbors, I mean, we can see it online this past week, for example, many of our neighbors hate us. You know, want us dead, want us locked up. And I would just say this, that I'm putting my life on the line. And I'm doing that even for those who hate me. There are people in our precious province who can't stand me and want me dead. And I'm willing to put my neck on the line for them. And I would hope that God might use that in some way to reach them for Christ. Because what I'm doing here is a minuscule fraction of what Christ did for me. When he died for me while I yet hated him, while I was yet a sinner, while I was in hostility to him. And so I would just say this to the public of Alberta: if you hate me, that's okay. I'm going to put my neck on the line, believing that I'm doing the best thing I possibly can for you, regardless of what you think about it. And that's loving my neighbor, which is exactly what the Word of God commands me to do. Amen?
Amazing guy. So they said that they arrested him and they said they'll let him out of jail if he agrees to not preach anymore. And he refused to agree to that. So they put him in maximum security prison. He was what do you call it? Solitary confinement. He actually just got out after 34 days. But here's the thing. This was very important that I'll finish off with this, okay? They're coming after us, guys, okay? They're coming. It's not, these lockdowns are not going to stop, and we need to prepare, and we need to prepare now, okay? And there's a lot of different things about that, but the thing is, again, what I'm telling you is, like, for example, in Battleground, you have 4 open spots on City Council. Vancouver, 4 open spots. Camas, you got 3. Washougal, you got 4. I'm saying a lot of you guys are from other places. If we start taking over now, okay, this year, we got to prepare, ladies and gentlemen, because they're coming after you. I'm telling you, for me, in my opinion, okay, because I want my children to be free to worship anywhere that they want, it is my moral obligation to make sure that we clear house in the city, in the Vancouver City Council. It's my moral obligation, okay? And we got to do that. It is your responsibility, guys. We cannot sit around anymore and wait. We can't wait for the next lockdown. We can't wait for this anymore because it's going to get worse and worse and worse, okay? Guys, I appreciate you being out here today. It means a lot to me, and thank you for listening to my story.